you were the one that killed the scarred one. Shit, I was the last. I love this. Release highlights. No major releases. Entering spring doldrums.
We can record and put things online.
We can record and put it online. And, oh my god, people actually want to hear this bullshit. Okay, hello everybody, and welcome back to the Retro Rents Retro Gaming Podcast. It is episode number 73, and I am Al.
I'm Nick.
Oh man, it's been a good 2 weeks. I think, though, as you appropriately noted in our agenda, I think we have officially hit the spring doldrums of gaming.
Yes, indeedy.
But
break out your backlog because we're not getting anything new.
No, not for a little while. But I will say, we have gotten some little hits out of nowhere that I've really been enjoying. But yeah, I'd rather start with you. What have you been playing? What have you been up to?
So, still playing through Breath Edge. I think I said I had kind of started that last week and still making my way through. It's still hilarious. Like, it's just, it doesn't take itself seriously, pokes fun at everything. Yeah. Absolutely hilarious. So, still having a blast with that. I managed to get into the closed beta for Century Ashes, or Age of Ashes, excuse me, which is basically, and we saw this back on E3 of last year.
Yeah, I remember.
It's basically a dragon flying game that looked like Star Wars Squadrons. Well, playing it, I'd say that's a pretty close assessment, though. Okay. It is extremely fun. It doesn't look like there's any kind of like single player campaign. So, obviously a little different from Squadrons. And basically it looked like, there's no real campaign or story per se. There does seem to be kind of lore-ish.
Now, is this just because it's a beta, or this just might be the way it goes, which I'm fine with?
Well, I'll describe, at least from what I'm getting from the beta. Like, there doesn't seem to be any kind of story setup or anything like that within the beta build, and I don't think that's what they're kind of going for with it. I think it's designed to be strictly multiplayer only. Okay. It's basically a 6v6 combat scenario. There's several game modes. So there's survival, which is kind of a one life to live elimination round. You die, that's it.
Dope.
They got a Gates of Fire, which is kind of a blend of Capture the Flag / King of the Hill. Basically, like, you get a flag and then you got to race through like these castle, ruined gates, and the more you go through as part of your team, the more points you get. And obviously,
that's really
trying to stop the enemy. Carnage, it's your standard deathmatch, team deathmatch, essentially. Okay. And then finally, Skirmish, again, kind of standard best of 3 matches, and you go with that. Right now there's 3 classes, kind of one focused on health, another on like really heavy, more like sniper damage, I'd say. It's kind of hard to describe a little bit. And then kind of a middle of the road class, full customization. I thought that, like, I expected some level of customization, but like, this is actually pretty in depth. I mean, everything from, the complete look of your dragon, from like head, body, tail.
Really?
So it's more than just like skin color. Like like some of the stuff I've seen in the beta is like you can have like a like a really thorny kind of like
can he be warty?
Warty. I am the last one.
Do the stars still shine?
Yeah, but full customization there, like even down to like your saddle and dragon armor. I mean, you think of it, kind of like, instead of riding a horse, but you have dragon armor. You have your rider, and then your rider can be customized from like helmet, what they're wearing on their torso, and even like kind of the weapon they're handling. Some have these long spears, there's these swords and whatnot. Really cool.
Oh my
stuff.
God, this sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's like more in depth than what I was expecting, rather. There's even like a kind of an egg hatchery mechanic that goes on. So you kind of have these various levels of eggs, so that I think with actually every item, there's kind of like these common, epic, and legendary style skins to everything, so you
That's
can kind
cool.
of like, if you happen to roll the dice correctly, then it's like, okay, you'll have a pretty badass looking dragon and rider essentially.
Nice.
Rounds aren't too long. It's very easy to pick up. It's definitely a game you have to play with a controller. I tried playing with the mouse, but it was a lot of me like going.
Okay, fair enough.
Doing that number to try and keep maybe I was playing it slightly wrong, but it was definitely like I switched the controllers. Like, oh, this is much easier because it's a lot of basically follow the cursor type of deal, so you kind of think of like the classic arcade flyer,
yeah,
style.
I got you.
So yeah, it's basically like you aim your cursor in an angle, and that's where your dragon's going to go. You go in the center, it flies straight, type of thing. But you got a lot of power ups. So like the healer one is kind of an interesting one. So when you start off the match, you choose your base power ability, and you have like two abilities at the ready. One's kind of a missile locking one that everyone has, and then the second one is your class specific ability. And so like the healer can choose either between like a team heal, so they can set out like a healing burst, and it'll heal anyone on their teammate, and it'll actually boost you towards them. So it's actually kind of a nice little escape route too.
Ooh, I like that.
The other is like you can pop this like poison smoke, and anyone like closely trailing you will get a face full of this poison smoke and start taking damage as a result.
Oh,
so
that's cool.
You get someone off your tail essentially.
So it's a dragon fart.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Well, dragon fart / it's basically fart grenade because you see your rider like pop it off, and so they'll hold it up like they're holding like a torch or something.
Oh, I see. Very cool.
And it's going off like a flare, so it's really cool visuals. The maps are fantastic, like these like vast, like huge.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Like a game like this with 6 dragons would warrant a pretty big play area. Does it suffice?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Like you start off with like if it's your first time playing, you're kind of set into a 3v3, so kind of baby step into a little bit, and the match area is a little smaller, so you kind of have like these. There's no castles. It's kind of like these crag spires that you can kind of fly around.
Yeah, no, cool.
But once you get into the 6v6, at least within the beta, it seems to be only one map. But again, this is probably because it's the beta. They're not showing off a lot.
Yeah.
But it's like these cool, crazy ruins. So like there's this upper level that's all this like castle area, and then there's the other half is kind of like this frozen lake bed with these spires, and then but there's an undercrop, I guess you could say, of underneath the castle itself. So like I said, there's a top layer, but if you go down, there's just like these caves you can kind of wind yourself through and like lose a target that way. By just like twisting and turning in these caves. And
oh my god, that sounds amazing.
You pop back out into like the lake, or you can there's like portions within the castle where you can kind of like shoot straight up and then back at the top of the map. So a lot of versatility. Again, it does feel, I say, in the sense of kind of like Squadrons, but not like Squadrons was obviously definitely more like you needed a HOTAS or at the very least a joystick. This is very much like you could easily play with a controller. Like I didn't try hooking up my HOTAS to see if I could even do that. But you don't really stop. So I guess that's another thing. Like you're constantly on the move. There's no like landing and or hovering or anything like that. There's like you can go slow, or
I kind of like that though. Like that's a constant pace. That's pretty cool.
Like, exactly. So really, you don't have to worry about your quote unquote throttle, so to speak. There are some like
boosters or stuff like that.
Yeah, like the booster, like the one ability that allows you to kind of boost towards your friendlies when you fire it off. So there's things like that where you can, and if you can dive on your enemies, so you end up going a little faster when you're doing that.
Oh my god, that sounds so cool.
But for the most part, it's you basically concentrate on flying, and more or less like there's kind of like these long range. You can chuck these. Or I say you chuck your dragon shoots like fireballs. They're more like missiles, so they're kind of longer range. They kind of lock on. But then when you get close, then they do their fire breath, and you're just like, whoosh, like barbecue something, and it's like it is so satisfying.
I am so glad we started this early tonight.
and more or less everything else is what you'd expect from kind of I think it's game as a service is kind of what they're going for. So you have like your daily, monthly, weekly style missions for various items. They do have a microtransaction store, so it's like you buy gems, and then gems will buy you like boosters or the cool cosmetic of the week or what have you. So kind of the usual trappings. But it seems like you can also buy most of the stuff in game currency. Obviously, it'll just take a lot more game time and play to accumulate versus buying it outright with real money / the token money.
Man, this sounds great. I'm gonna. I got into the beta as well. I haven't gotten myself around to play it, but I think maybe that's what I'll do tonight.
Yeah, I think the beta ends, I think, on the 23rd. So I don't know, depending on when this comes out. There, if you've happened to sign up for the beta, like I signed up for this back in summer of 20. When they announced it's like, sign up on Steam. I'm like, sign me up.
Oh yeah, I signed up, and it was just one of those. You're in the Jesus Christ, you're in the Century beta. I was like, oh sweet. Nice. Do they have a release date or?
I think they do. I believe it was this summer.
Okay. Oh, that'd be a nice little summer surprise, huh?
Let's see. No, sorry. April, April 21. So
they're okay. So they're pretty much they're just stress testing right now.
Yeah, that's basically what this is, and it felt pretty solid. I didn't really feel like I encountered too many problems. I think there maybe been a few connection issues where, the usual multiplayer problems shit. Of like, there occasionally you'd find a player just like jumping around like crazy. It's like, oh boy, hopefully it's not like either cheater or just it's a case of connection. Hopefully.
That's awesome though, man. Like I was reading your notes, like, daily, monthly, weekly missions for items and dragon eggs. Like, have you gotten into the dragon egg thing? Or?
Yeah, so they did debut. You do get to see that in the beta. Basically, they give you like an egg almost right away. And basically with that, like, I think the lower level eggs, which is kind of what you get, is a few hours, and it kind of incubates with you playing the game. Ooh. So you can either divert your level experience into your rider essentially, or you can divert that XP into your egg. And obviously, once your egg reaches maturity, then it spawns, and you suddenly have a new dragon. That's how you get the new dragon skins, so to speak.
Oh, that's so cool.
And from what I can tell, all the dragon skins don't really seem to do any bonuses or anything like that. So it's not like a case of
looks cool.
It's like, this guy spent $15 on the legendary dragon, and suddenly he has like 1 million fireballs or whatever. It's like,
so they're doing it right.
Yeah, like gameplay wise, like it's all balanced. It doesn't seem to be pay to win. It's basically just pay to look cool / nice. Pay to XP boost essentially, which it's acceptable.
That's totally acceptable. So what do you think? You think this might be the next big multiplayer?
So I'd say it's going to be worth a pickup. Like I think I'm going to definitely enjoy it. It's definitely going to be one of those like, we join up on it, much like we did like Squadrons is like, let's go like Dragon
Friday or something.
It's not a game I could see you playing for a long period of time. It's just like, jump in, do a couple rounds, and you're done. Okay. It doesn't look like there's any story or anything like that to kind of garner your attention. For the more competitive players, there does look to be a ranked match mode. Again, not in the beta right now, but they do have a block for it. So it does look like they're setting up for like kind of the more competitive side of things, which is smart.
Nice. So how did you do? How did you do when you were playing?
Oh, on my what?
How did you do? When you were playing, did you kill a few?
Oh yeah. Like for me, like I got into it real quickly, kind of the usual, like, standard flight tactics. If you, kind of adhere to those, like for me, it was like, okay, I flew up as high as I could. And then, you can just kind of look down and see the riders beneath you. And it's like, there's a target. And then you just like swoop in on them and just like, and then just like, get your altitude again and, rinse, repeat. So yeah, it was very, like I said, it was very easy to pick up like how to play. I can definitely see it as like, and there were some other very, very good players that I was going against. So it wasn't like, nice. A complete walk away, but.
So you were the one that killed the scarred one. Shit, I was the last. I had to set that up. I'm sorry.
I am the last one.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to give that one a try. I really need to tear myself away from Crusader Kings 3.
You're still playing that. How's it going? What are you doing this time?
So they just released their first. It's not even a big DLC, but I'd say it's their first DLC. They call it a flavor pack. I had bought the special edition, so I get like season 1 for free anyway, which is fine. Paradox always generally follows through, but it's called the Northern Lords, and it's a Viking themed flavor pack. There's like all new Viking music if you're playing one of the Viking realms. They've added a bunch of really cool mechanics where you can like challenge rivals to single combat, and that can be very interesting to the death. You know, I haven't seen yet if I could do it for titles, but if I can do it for titles, man, fuck, I'm gonna take over Sweden with my guy. But it's cool. Like you challenge somebody to a fight, and then like you get like story choices that are basically like, how do you want to fight? And it depends on your prowess, really. Like, if your character has a really high martial prowess, I'm just like, fuck it, press the advantage. Like, I charge in, smashing shields, and I beat one of my rival lords, and basically, the reason I fought him was because the way the succession laws, at least in that part of the country, worked, I was next in line for whatever reason. I think one of my relations or whatever, or I forget how it landed, but basically if this guy died before he had an heir, I would inherit his land. So I was like, let's fight, and whooped his ass. And the cool thing was, like, I had enough money and prestige and other stuff. When it was done, my advisor was like, you should erect a runestone for this victory. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do that. And I made a runestone basically describing this guy's defeat. And that then intimidated all the nearby lords, and one of whom, you know, if you know history at the time, is Harold Fairhair, who eventually becomes like King of Sweden. Not in this game. He had about 4 territories, and I was like, I think I slept with his wife, or he slept with mine. I forget how it went. Either way, we're not getting along. And I challenged him to single combat, and he's like, nope, not going to do it. And now, like, all his lords are rebelling against him because he's a coward.
He's a coward, no!
Dude, this fucking game is so good. But he knew, because, like, I was looking at his prowess. I'm like, dude, if he steps into the ring with me, I'm going to chop his head off. And, like, he knew it. He's like, I'll risk rebellion. I ain't going in the ring with this guy. But yeah, I mean, it continues to be my favorite game, my go-to. I have over 205 hours into it now, and it came out last September. It's just a unbelievably good game, and I continually cannot recommend it enough. But that's kind of what I play on lunch breaks, you know, or when I'm in my office, because it's a PC only game.
Mm-hmm.
But I wound up grabbing a couple days ago. Once again, thank you, Co Carnage. You're gonna make me go broke, dude. Seriously. No, but I love watching Co because he's one of those streamers where he just kind of he'll stream anything, like anything new, or a developer will give him something, and he gives it a solid shot, and he's just great. Like I find my taste really aligns with the stuff that he likes, and he picked up Curse of the Dead Gods. And I'm watching him play this, and like 2 things immediately strike me. One, it has very solid Hades mechanics. Yeah, if you play Hades, like let's put the dice on the table. Hades is a perfect video game. It is one of the best games to come out in the past 5 years. And it's got that roguelike difficulty, but it's one of those, like, it's tough. You're inevitably going to die, and die a lot. But as you go through the game, like, you get certain currencies that you then, when you die, can use to upgrade your weapons, upgrade your armor, upgrade your character, etc.
Okay.
You know, and each run, you know, it is difficult, but it gets a little easier and a little easier. But I would say that Hades definitely rests on the much more difficult end of the spectrum, at least until you put a lot of time into it, where Curse of the Dead Gods is difficult, but not as much. Like, to me, it's kind of a perfect match of difficulty versus my playstyle. But Hades will beat it in story. Like, the story in Hades is great. The voice acting in Hades is great. Curse of the Dead Gods doesn't really have that. It doesn't have, this giant cast of characters, and it's not supposed to be that. But what it is what it does really well. And it's like you've got your hub that you spend your currencies on to get your character better, but you're basically going through, what seem to be like Aztec-style temples. And you start out, you choose which, enemy you want to go after, basically which temple you want to go through, and that'll determine the boss. And I'm still on the first tier, so there's 3 bosses to fight before you can ascend to the next tier or whatever. And the first boss, the first temple is tough. You might die the first time or the second time, but it has some really neat mechanics to it, to where the first thing that's a big mechanic in this game is light. And you have your weapon, you have a secondary, which could be a shield or a whip or something else. You can get a heavy weapon, which is, your other button, which is a 2-hander. And then you have a torch. And you need the torch to light braziers and torches.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in the dark, the enemies get a buff and you get disadvantages. But if you light the torch, it evens the ground out a little bit, makes it a little easier. But either way, it's still pretty tough, but it's one of those, if you understand the enemy patterns and like you can roll out of the way and parry and stuff, and you'll generally do okay. But then you got to watch out for trap tiles and stuff like spikes in the floor and all that stuff. But then each room you go through the first room, and you'll get to the door. And when you get to the exit door for a room, you will automatically take a certain amount of corruption. And I think it's like every 100 points of corruption, you get a curse. And the curse will stick with you through your run. And the curses are totally different every time. There's so many different ones. Like, there's ones that'll be like, gold will only be on the floor for like 5 seconds, and then it disappears. But you'll get twice as much gold.
So if you manage to get to it, then you're rich.
Exactly. So like that's how the curses work. There's a disadvantage, and there's an advantage. And then for each run, you can get up to 5 curses. And so you have gold, that's one currency. And like if you get, and then, so you get out of the room, you get corruption on the door. Then a map pops up, and you've got like one of 3 paths to take. And then each time you have like more choices of a different path to take. Very much like if you played Slay the Spire, you understand that map. It looks very similar. You're going towards the top, towards the champion. And then like you pick the room, you'll go through, and then you might have picked up enough gold to upgrade your weapon. And you can do that. Or you can upgrade your constitution or something. Or there'll be something where if you pay 1,500 gold, you can upgrade like both your constitution and your dexterity. The chances of you having that much gold, at least until later in the run, are pretty low. So you can just cut your wrist and take 40 corruption and get the buff. So like you have that, do I want to risk getting a curse that might make my run even harder to get this buff that'll make it easier? So there's a real tactic to it, which I'm really enjoying.
Give and take, kind of trade.
I like that. Like it's fair. It's totally fair. And I've beaten the first temple pretty handily. Like I use that now just to stack up currencies because like I know the boss's patterns inside and out.
Mm-hmm.
But the upgrade trees and the stuff you can do is just so numerous. Like the gameplay loop in this is just as rewarding and fun to me as Hades is. And what it doesn't have in story, it really makes up for in gameplay and heart and stuff. I'm really enjoying Curse of the Dead Gods. And like I told you in Discord, like I was just sitting on the couch last night playing, and I'm just like, yeah.
Just kind of like the
tumbling over traps.
Indiana Jones and the temples and all that.
Oh, dude, and it totally is. Like the second temple that I'm playing in now, the next boss is tough, but I think I'm gonna get him tonight. I'll probably get him tonight. but the temple is full of traps. So it's like, I go
Stay
2
up to the
steps,
light.
it's like, oh, fuck, flaming statues, tumble, shit, spike pit, shit, like, tumble. And, yeah, it really gives me, like, this Indiana Jones feel with the temple layouts and stuff. It's just wicked fun, man. And I think it might be $20, $25. It's such a solid buy.
I'm seeing, $20 on Steam. Like, I'm looking at it like, this is looking pretty solid. I've got to check it out.
It's great. Like, it is, and the best part about it, like, I can do that first temple run, maybe 15 minutes.
That's not too bad for playtime.
Yeah, it's not a game you have to, and actually, that's the best part, is it times you. It tells you how fast you did that run.
Okay.
So, like, I can see, like, a speed run aspect to it, too. But it's such a great game that you can just pick up and play on a lunch break, and then, go do your thing. Very solid. I also dipped my foot into Loop Hero, which is probably the worst game to play on a lunch break. It's a great game. It's an idle game, but it's probably the only idle game I've ever liked. I don't even want to get into it. Like, I've got to play it more to properly describe it. I would just recommend you watch any streamer that has played it, or anybody playing it live. It's such a beautiful little game. Just really, really fun to kind of let run in the background, but you got to keep an eye on it, or you're going to die. And then you have to, like, lay down cards and terrain and stuff. The whole gist is basically, like, the world just, like, sucked into a void, and you're the only one that kind of remembers there used to be something there. And you just walk this path that loops around. And as you fight enemies, you get cards that you build out of a deck, and then you draw it from your deck, basically, when you fight shit. And it'll be terrain that you can lay down in the world, and it's you remembering how the world used to look. And then, like, you get currencies and stuff to upgrade your hub and your camp afterwards. It's a great little game. It's another little surprise. Like, I found 2 surprises this week easily, and that was Curse of the Dead Gods and Loop Hero. But Curse of the Dead Gods has really got, like, if I'm not playing Crusader Kings 3, I'm playing that. And I'm really trying to get my wife to play it. She loves games. She's like, I can just mash the button and kill shit. Like, and I'm like, yeah, you gotta tumble too, traps. But it's great. It's a really great game. It's a ton of fun. And I feel, I'm afraid, like, too many people will write it off as, oh, they're trying to be like Hades, and they're really not. Like, Hades nails it on story and voice acting and everything. Like, Hades is a masterstroke. But this game is definitely, like, you could tell it was probably being developed at the same time. And there's definitely similar ideas.
At the very least, it seems like the art style, that kind of, like, dark cel-shaded art style is what does
so
it.
Good.
But yeah, and, I guess both look isometric, but it does seem to be where the similarities differ. Whereas, like, it does feel like Hades is more, I'll say, like Diablo-esque, because you don't really get. Do you get items that much in Hades?
You do. You get gifts from the gods. Like, they'll give you gifts that will buff you, or
but
whatever.
not like like Diablo.
No, you have
looting.
you have a set of weapons, and you unlock more, and then you basically upgrade them with each run.
Where it looks like the other one is definitely more like loot's dropping left and right, and you're like kind of picking it up that way. And like you said,
with Curse of the Dead Gods, it's more when you beat a boss, you get a bunch of these jade rings, and you use those to unlock weapons that then have a chance of spawning. In the beginning of the game in your altars, and then you have to upgrade the altars to up the chance of getting, like, a rare weapon or a badass weapon. But then they'll just drop during runs. Like, I got this lightning barbed whip that I just fucking wreck havoc with. It's great if it happens to land during a run. But it's great. It's easily the best $20 you'll spend on Steam right now.
Nice.
Like, there's no question, no doubt. Like, if you like that kind of game loop where you can just, do a quick 10-minute run, you'll get a couple currencies to where you might be able to unlock some upgrades. So the next time you play, you could do another temple and get a little further. And there seems to be a ton of depth to this game that I haven't even touched yet. And it's $20. It's a great $20. They nailed it. Good game. All right, so let's see. We've talked about the stuff we've been playing. I love this release highlights. No major releases. Entering spring doldrums. Yeah, it's so funny you mentioned, like, I have Resident Evil 8 and Resident Evil Village pre-ordered. I have Hood pre-ordered to where it's actually, like, installed, like a piece of the game, and it's just sitting on my Xbox. I'm waiting for Hood.
Just
Can't
waiting
wait for Hood.
It's like, oh, I'm looking forward. Like, I kind of want to see more of it. They've started releasing some I see behind the scenes, but like developer diary style videos of, like, how the game operates and whatnot. So it's like, yeah, it's still got my interest. Yeah, see, like, basically it's gonna be April with Century. I think it will be kind of the game for April for me.
And then May is Hood.
May's gonna be loaded. We got Hood, Resident Evil 8's dropping same day, Subnautica a week later. So May's gonna be loaded.
It's a hell of a start to the summer. I'll take it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that's great. In a game documentary front, Danny O'Dwyer at NoClip and his crew are hard at work on a Dishonored documentary. And if you've seen their documentaries, they're amazing. Like, they go all behind the scenes, interview all the people, and it's just top notch, top quality. I've been a patron of NoClip for about 4 or 5 months now, maybe even 6. And like, their Hades documentary is unbelievably good, because they started filming it when Hades was first being developed, and you can watch the whole thing, like, as they went into early access, and they're sitting there looking at their Steam stats, and like, oh my god, oh wow, a lot of people are playing, oh my god. And then you follow it through, like, them dealing with COVID and developing a game during COVID, and then up to the final release. It's just amazing. It's an amazing documentary. Danny and crew just kill it. So I'm excited to watch the Dishonored one. The Dishonored documentary should be really, really good. But yeah, so I've got Hood installed. Or pre-installed. I'm really, really looking forward to that. And I think we have some good news to share before we get into the news that we have written down.
Oh.
Yeah. What about the development this week with our good old Uncle Neil? He's an uncle to the show.
Oh, yes.
Say that. Yeah, for all of y'all, who I'm sure have now heard both parts of our incredible interview, our magnum opus, I would say, with the great Neil Halford. Neil got in touch with us this week, and last year he did something called Lockdown Con, him and his wife, and they're doing it again this year, and they invited us to a panel for podcasters, and I'm just so I'm like, flattered doesn't even cover it. Like, yeah. I was just like, he's like, yeah, would you be interested in that? I'm like, I had all I could do now to be like, fuck yeah, like Shaun of the Dead style. Like, it's so awesome, and the prospect is so exciting. Really getting to do, I think, anything with Neil again. It just the very prospect of that is so exciting to me.
That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, God, dude, like I'm still thinking about that interview. Like, I listened to it again the other day. I was just working, and I was like, man, it's kind of a shit day, and I was just like, I just need a smile, and I just threw that interview on, and I'm like, man, I could just sit and let that dude tell me stories for hours, and like, it would be amazing. Like, oh, dude. So yeah, I mean, just the possibility, the prospect of joining a panel with some other, podcasters who I'm sure are incredibly better at production and everything else. I'm just so flattered that they thought of us, and so excited to do this for Lockdown Con 2021. It's just cool. Like, I was thinking about it the other day, Nick. I'm like, this is going to be a weirdly anticlimactic interview. What got you into podcasting? Well, Nick and I used to just have lunch and talk about this shit over lunch. And then we moved on to other jobs, and we're like, how do we do this again?
We can record and put things online. What?
We can record and put it online, and oh my god, people actually want to hear this bullshit. But yeah, no, it's interesting. It's super cool, and I can't wait to see what comes out of that. But on to other news. Whatever. Game Pass. Dude, Game Pass. Let's just take a minute here. I got on the Game Pass, I think, a month after it hit. And this is, 2 years now, I think Game Pass has been around, right?
Has it really? Okay.
Yeah, I think it started. Right. I think it started in 2019. And I remember thinking, like, there's no way. Nobody's going to sign on to this. Like,
well, also at the time, like the library wasn't that large at the time, and it wasn't. And we may have talked. We're gonna have to like dig up an episode maybe and figure out. Like, I'm sure we talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna say, like, probably my words were like, something along the lines of like, yeah, it's great concept, but there's like, there's nothing here.
There's just not enough there yet.
We need to see more, because I think I want to say we had the same statement about like Stadia and all that. It's like they sound like great services, but without a library, it's kind of useless.
Exactly. But I do remember thinking along the lines of, because Stadia, you're right, Stadia, I think, was a concept around the same time. And I remember thinking, Game Pass will work if they get the library, because you're downloading the game. You're not streaming it. Like, it's downloaded to your console.
And Microsoft had the best shot because they had a decent library under their belt and some some high hitting titles that surprisingly have yet to actually hit. Like, so like the big thing I thought that would have kicked it off would have been like a Halo game, and they're still working on with Halo Legends, I guess, is the next one.
Well, Halo Infinite is
Infinite. That's what it is. Okay, yeah,
but it
hasn't come out yet.
It hasn't come out yet, and God knows when it will. Hopefully it won't be the next Crackdown 3 where you're like, this would have been a fucking hit 4 years ago.
4 years ago, yeah. So, but that was the thing. Like, there wasn't really any kind of like flagship game. There's been a few, not to say like the games on there haven't been decent that originally came out with it. Like Sea of Thieves launched with it, but admittedly, like Sea of Thieves had a very slow start. It's gotten to a decent point now, but it's not like a mega hit. Not on the level like Halo or anything like that.
No.
There's been no, like, again, and you kind of look at the console launches that, or at least I should say console launches in the past, because I feel like today's console launches, maybe there's one or two.
I can speak to this personally. I have a PS5 and an Xbox Series X. The launch titles are not shit. There's just not enough.
But I kind of remember that being a thing back in the day. I don't know, maybe I'm making this up in my head, but I feel like, the consoles used to launch with a, usually a flagship game, and then a decent amount of like, launch titles that
you had some different titles that were like, it's worth picking up the system now.
Yeah, and I feel like that doesn't happen today. Like, there's no flagship.
It didn't happen with the Xbox One either.
Yeah, you're right.
I don't even think it happened with the PS4, to be honest. I think the PS4 had one launch title. I think the Xbox One, I don't even know if it had a launch title.
I don't think it. I kind of remember the one just kind of launching lacklusterly, essentially. Just kind of like it arrived and it was just kind of there. And then we
got shit coming.
And it was kind of like, it kind of got glossed over because then here we are with the new Xbox. What 1S or whatever? What is the new one called? 1S?
The Series X
or Series S. Okay, there you go.
Yeah,
and the one just kind of got glossed over somehow. Because I think back to like the days of the 360 and the PS3. It's like 360, like it was like Call of Duty.
Yeah, it had some solid
Halo
launches, man.
3. What did it launch with Halo 3?
No, Halo 3 came after, but it was Call of Duty, and maybe it was Call of Duty 2, or maybe just Call of Duty. It had a couple of like really solid titles. It was worth getting the system for.
Yeah, I kind of remember that. In PS3, I remember had a couple handful. I think
God of War.
I think wasn't Killzone one of the early
Killzone was
titles?
A launch title. The
Killzone
original
2.
Killzone. Couple other. Yeah, no, but I feel what you're saying.
But yeah, like that doesn't happen that much anymore. Like they can't line up the flagship launch with the console launch anymore.
like Nintendo, I think, is the only one still doing that. Like, if I remember, Switch still had some solid launch titles.
Yeah, like Nintendo definitely falls in that category. Like, yeah, we want to make sure we have stuff for this.
Yeah, we want to make it worth
platform.
your while.
It's like, obviously, it won't be a huge library, but yeah, they launch with a flagship, and then they'll have a few other titles, and sometimes, like, the third parties will have, their stuff, kind of trailing, a month or two behind, enough in time for, like, especially if it, like, launches in the holiday season type of thing, which they usually do. That the only thing pick that up.
The only thing I'll say with the Series X, though, that I think it's the first time I haven't felt really like, damn, I wish it had more titles. Right. Is just the features that it brought with it. The solid state drive, the super fast load times, the enhancements to the games that, were released or designed with it in mind, like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and the instant game switching. Like, holy shit. It sounds so stupid to say, but, like, that is such a game changer, literally, where it's like, I'm done playing Assassin's Creed. I'm going to go watch YouTube for a while. I think I'm going to go play, Dirt 5 or whatever. And it literally picks up where I left off on Dirt 5, and then I go play another game after Dirt 5, and then it's like, I'm going to go back to Assassin's Creed, 3 days later, and it picks up right where I left it off. Like, sounds stupid, but that's a really solid feature.
But I mean, the other thing is, like, with the Game Pass, even, like, you have a very vast back library, which was definitely a thing of, like, probably the last 2 generations of consoles.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, there was no back on track.
There was no backwards compatibility, or very minimal, of, like, the previous generation. But with the Game Pass now, it's like, they don't need to necessarily worry about backwards compatibility. Although, I think you said the Series S does have some.
Oh, it has a ton. You can play 360 games on it.
Okay, yeah. So perfect. Yeah, so it's like,
it's a fucking solid investment if you have a big. But, I'm glad I bought it because my Microsoft Digital Library is enough, for a house extension,
right?
Financially.
But if you don't have those games to begin with, you still have a decent back library. Like, okay, you bought this console completely new. You don't have any back library games.
Oh yeah.
You now have access to a ton of stuff that you can then play on it alongside any of the new titles that are designed for it.
Yeah, and let's talk about that for a second, because when you're talking about Game Pass, the first thing Microsoft has done in the past year, I'd say, since the beginning of 2020, is they really went out and said, okay, what development houses really fit the kind of games we want to bring to this system? Mm-hmm. They acquired Obsidian, so now you got Pillars of Eternity 1 and 2 on the Xbox. And those are solid role-playing games. And on top of that, because they are now a Microsoft-owned game house, and Microsoft is the publisher, any Microsoft-owned franchise comes to Game Pass.
Yes.
So it's like, now you have Obsidian games on Game Pass. You have In Exile is now on Game Pass. They're the ones that did Wasteland 3 and Tides of Numenera. Which is like the Planescape successor. There is a solid backlog of titles now. And then you look at, obviously, I know we've talked about it on the show. A couple months ago, like, I remember it was a Monday, and it just dropped. And, like, I was talking to coworkers, we're like, holy shit! Microsoft just bought ZeniMax and Bethesda.
Yeah. Oh,
and
that was the kicker. I forget when it dropped. I think it was just within the past 2 weeks. Like, we knew it was coming.
Yeah, it just didn't know when.
But basically, they were kind of waiting. Like they said, they were zeroing in. And we may have mentioned it on the last podcast or so. But basically, like, they're zeroing in. They're kind of finalizing their last legal side of things. And then all of a sudden, it's like, boom. Everything's signed. Boom, entire library available on Game Pass. It's like, holy shit!
It's ridiculous, dude. Like, they just loaded it up. And then let's kind of fork off that path for a second. But then, maybe it was 6 months to a year ago, they released the PC Game Pass. Mm-hmm. And if you get Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, you get both. And this was like, I always imagined, I was like, would there ever be a Netflix for PC games? And because, the piracy aspect of it, I never thought somebody would get it right, but they fucking nailed it. And, like, now you got all the Bethesda library that you can download on PC. Apparently, some of these games, like The Evil Within, the Game Pass version is better than the Steam version for performance and other stuff. Like, people were reviewing it the other day. They're like, this is the best version of this game, and it's on Game Pass.
Outstanding.
And it's just, I'm telling you, like, it was a slow burn, but holy shit, is Microsoft killing it. And now,
yeah, I mean, it's definitely like it's reached critical mass at this point. And, you know, I would be confident in saying, like, if you've not picked up Game Pass and, you know, either you're on the fence and or, you know, basically it's definitely for if you play a variety of games. Obviously, if you only play one game and that's your favorite and that's the only one you play, obviously this isn't for you. But if you're into like playing a variety of games, or you frequently pick up games to play on a regular basis, like I'd say even you know one game a month type of thing, Game Pass has now become like the thing to get. Like,
oh, totally.
The libraries are going vast. They do rotate stuff in and out, so there is, you know, it's not like a permanent thing.
But they let you know. It's where I think they have a big heads up on Netflix.
Yeah. Like Netflix is like, oh, it's gone. Bye. like you have to like look up the information for when Netflix stuff is leaving.
Yeah, there's literally a category on Game Pass when you're looking through your list. It'll say leaving soon.
Yeah,
and you could buy it for cheap.
Yeah,
like it's like get it now.
So yeah, and at $10 for PC, or I think it's 15 right now for Ultimate,
both.
Right?
For both,
yeah. It's like I'd say either one is well worth it. You know, if you're only PC, it's like save a little bit of money. You know, do the $10 or whatever. But you know, it's like.
But if you have an Xbox and a PC,
console, PC, yeah, go for the Ultimate. I mean, like,
yeah, because the libraries are different. There are different games that are on the PC version that are not on the Xbox version, and vice versa.
And even like I recently, you know, I say recently, I got myself a Christmas present way back. And it was like a nice new tablet, because like my other one's like just plain out broke. But it's an Android, and so, you know, download the Game Pass, and then I can actually play select games Stadia style, essentially, through that.
So, you have the xCloud?
No, it's not the X. It's basically through the Xbox app, but
no shit.
But you put it on via Android, and you don't download anything. So but you're basically streaming whatever the content is. And I tried it on a few titles. Did a little bit of Sea of Thieves. Basically, it works a lot better with like single player stuff. But it worked almost perfectly. Like I didn't encounter any real issues with it. It was like, wow, this is actually pretty good.
That's amazing.
So you even have that capability, you know, again, depending on what you're trying to play it on. Like, I think it only works on like Android stuff right now. I don't think there's any iPhone support. And I don't think you can do it on PC. I have to double check that.
That's still super awesome.
PC will force you to basically download and install it. But basically, you can stream the content to at least your mobile device. So again, another awesome point to Game Pass, and like basically at this point, you know, I know there are the competitors, like Ubisoft is on its own thing, I believe.
It is, and it's okay. Like where Ubisoft, I will say, has like the advantage of having that, if you like Ubisoft games, is their service. You get like the ultimate collector's edition of every game.
Sure.
So that's pretty solid. Like that's a tempting thing where it's like, oh, you get all the extra skins, you get all the DLC, you get all the expansions. It's all part of your thing. And again, if you like their library, it's a good buy. But again, going back to Game Pass, the big thing that dropped, was it this week or last week? Now you got EA Play.
Yeah,
you got EA games on there now.
Every title, or like I know, like a lot of the major ones. The ones I was looking at, I think Fallen Order's now on there, so I wanted to check that out.
Fallen Order's on there. Oh my god, if you haven't played that, holy shit, you gotta go play that.
I've been like kind of like waiting. You know, once I heard the EA thing was coming, it's like, ooh, you know what? I'm just gonna wait. I'm gonna wait to see if it comes onto there, and if it's maybe not day one, maybe a little bit later, I'll wait. You know, wait
it's
it
there.
out. No, it's like day one. Yeah, give me that.
And get yourself some PC Game Pass going, and grab yourself the Command & Conquer remaster.
Oh, that's on. Oh, yeah, that is through EA, isn't it?
It is through EA, and it is on Oh my God, is it good?
And that's the kicker. Like they've amassed such a huge library, and the fact that they've integrated with other studios, EA, well, Bethesda, I know, was in the works, and then there's like, we learned like, Microsoft is buying out the Bethesda, so it's like, okay, we get those anyway. Like Ubisoft is kind of like, I'd say in its shadow, very serious.
I feel like Microsoft is circling like Jaws.
Yeah, right.
Y'all really want to keep doing this by yourselves, or would you like to come aboard?
Come to the back of the boat. It's cool back here.
It's a matter of time, I would think.
I would agree. Like I have a feeling like they'll try to go it on their own, but it's like, I don't know if like Ubisoft's just not biting whatever Microsoft. Like I would have to have a feeling that Microsoft would have reached out to them and they're like, "Hey, you can join in." And it's gonna, here, obviously they have to come to some kind of agreement of like,
it's got to be a money thing, right?
Yeah, it's got to be a money thing, and maybe that's why they're like, you know what, we're gonna try our own thing and do it.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing to me here is EA also was doing this. But they decided, I think they actually still have their service now that I think about it, but they integrated not only with Steam. But
yeah, they integrated across the board because I had Origin. I
yeah.
had the service. I got a year of it.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like now that they're doing all this integration, like that's some serious props right there.
You can't beat it.
Yeah,
like there's nothing out there right now.
Like I don't know how much Ubi. Let me look it up.
Ubi, I think is 15. I think.
Let's see. Subscription service. There we go. Let's take a look here.
Ubisoft Plus or something like that. Whatever the fuck they call it now.
Yeah. And of course, they're burying the price of it. How much?
Ubisoft subscription price. What are they charging? Let's see.
$14.99. Yeah, so
so it's $15.
$15 a month, which is the same price as the Ultimate, which is the PC and console library the Game Pass is doing. Like basically, if and I do this with my the TV subscription service. So it's like I'll turn Netflix on and off. Like Amazon, I keep running all the time because Amazon has like controls everything, but Netflix,
you get shipping and everything else. You get all kinds of shit. You get
all sorts of stuff. Yeah, Netflix, I'll turn on and off. Like if I feel like I've gone through like most of either the new stuff or I've seen kind of what I need, I'll shut it back off because it's like, okay, I don't need to be spending all that money just for like not watching it type of thing. But I feel like I've had this conversation on here before, but like other things like like CBS's access for like all the Star Trek stuff. It's like, yeah, I like Star Trek, but I'm not going to pay $15 just to watch Star Trek. Like, get it on a main service like either Netflix or Amazon, and I'll watch it through there, and I'll be much more pleased doing that than buying your own specific service just for that one thing. And I feel like that's what's happening with Ubisoft right now. And they need,
it's a matter of time.
They need to get on board. Get on board the Game Pass.
I think they will. I think they're kind of a small fish in a big ocean at this point. Yeah. Microsoft they did it. They did it brilliantly. They planned it brilliantly. They were patient and they acquired stuff over time. I know a lot of people are pissed off at the potential for exclusive games that, Phil Spencer said wouldn't happen. But I remember even talking with Jeremy, and it was like, yeah, that's unrealistic. Even when he said that, it's like they're saying that because they don't have it. But the day is going to come when they do have it, and they're going to say, you know what? No. Like, if you want this, you got to play it on PC or Xbox. And, like, look, I get that might suck, but it's one of those, it's just how this shit works, man. Like, PlayStation has killed it with their exclusives for years, but I do feel there is a turning of the tide. I feel like it's starting to tip, Microsoft's way, especially with Bethesda, especially with the games that they have, coming down the pipe right now, that are supposedly coming out, that there's no word on exclusivity. It might be a year. It might be total exclusivity. Who knows? But it's going to happen, and it's just this is the time to get in, folks. Like, there are some awesome games to play. It's the Netflix of games, and they're nailing it, man. It's just great titles, great additions all the time. Like, they just added Undertale this week. Undertale is a fantastic little indie game. Like, there are so many games that I buy and then 2 weeks later end up on Game Pass, and I just want to fucking smack myself. But they just seem to know the games to pick, where it's like people want to play this. And I just got to put my wallet away.
They arrive in a timely fashion. It's not like a case of like, it's like, oh, the game comes out and maybe like a year later we'll see it, kind of show up. No, they're arriving, either close to launch day and or, soon afterwards. And obviously a lot of this, the indie stuff was on their studio, but like Call of the Sea, and one of the other ones that I was playing is like, they launched on Game Pass, and obviously they announced that last year with their E3 session. But it's like, like they have relevant stuff arriving, and like again with all these other studios now incorporating, there's not much left outside the realm that's not going to be somehow encompassed. And again, it's a fantastic time to get in on it. Like totally, like you said, it's the
$15 worth. Hands down.
Yeah, especially if you're playing a variety of games, if you play one game, at least one game a month, you're fine. Like it's gonna more than pay for itself. And especially if you have kids or whatever, it's like you'll have access to a ton of games. So it's like it can cater to whatever genre that you're looking for, more or less. And more or less save you a lot more money than you would buying all these individual games separately.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love it. Like it's my best investment aside from my 401k.
Right.
But yeah, I will say the baby's starting to cry again, so it's perfect timing. But this will I think bring us to the end of the show. Again, hop on Game Pass. There's so much awesome on there right now. There's so much great stuff to play. I changed our game of the month, Curse of the Dead Gods. I really want everyone to try this game for $20, man. It'll probably be on Game Pass next week because I bought it. But it is such a great game. It is such a solid game. You can get it on PC. You can get it on Xbox. I don't know if it's on PlayStation yet. I could look. It probably is, but it's such a solid game. Get it. Check it out. We'll just go to, shout out to everybody. Love y'all. Love the fans. Thank you, everybody, again, for all the thumbs up, reviews, feedback. We really appreciate it. Neil, thank you so much for thinking of us. We love you. And I can't wait to see what happens with Lockdown Con. If you want to reach us, hang out on tiny.cc/savepoint on Facebook. You can email us, theretrorents@gmail.com. At the Retro Rents on Twitter, at RetroRentsAl for me, at Black Eagle Ops for Nick, and just to again wrap it up, we are kind of in the doldrums, but check out the stuff we talked about.
Plenty of games out there to entertain you. Like there's no lack of games to play.
It's backlog time. Let's do this. And until next time, have fun, play games, don't be dicks. And now I gotta type Craig, leave.
Peace out, Craig.